Carlos never worked with a real shaman. He worked with a sorcerer, Don Juan. He told these incredible stories, and we asked him if he could write them down. So he started writing a little bit. And he had a great sense of humor, by the way, a very funny man. We said, that's great, bring another one, and so on. So soon he had almost a book length. Carlos sought me out, and he said he was having trouble with his field notes. He could not figure things out, what to do. He was trying to get a doctorate, PhD, at the University of California at Los Angeles. So he came at a meeting of the American Anthropological Association in San Francisco, and he had heard of a talk I had given in Berkeley at the university here. This was in the early 1960s. I had talked about reality in the Upper Amazon and shamanism. The real reality that you enter with the altered state of consciousness, the ecstasy or the trance, and the other reality. And he and I arrived at an agreement that we would call one non-ordinary reality and the other ordinary reality.
I had the chance to meet Carlos Castaneda for the first time in the late 1980s. And this was the time when he came to Mexico to present one of his major works, which was The Eagle's Gift. For many years he had, in a way, disappeared from public life. Of course, the auditorium was packed to the rim, no? About 500 people waiting to meet the legendary Carlos Castaneda. Time passed by and he didn't show up, and he didn't show up. Presenter came to the stage and said that he had had some type of impediment and that he had decided to cancel the presentation. So then everybody was very disappointed, and little by little everybody drifted away from the auditorium. But there was a very small compact group of people, maybe 10 or 12 people, that decided to stay, and I was among these people. I had a kind of internal certainty that he would eventually show up. And then after this 4 or 5 hours, to our amazement, Carlos came out and he made the presentation of this book. And then when we asked him why was it that he had decided to cancel this presentation, he said that an important event had arisen when he was about to come out on stage. He had seen something in that stage, an auspicious event, an anomaly. From the sorcerer's perspective, it made him decide not give this presentation and wait to see if a second sign confirmed what he saw in the first place. That specific event was manifest in a person that was among the people in the auditorium. Was confirmed when that person stayed for those 4 hours, like knowing that he was going to come out. And that person was I.
Well, actually, I only met Carlos Castaneda once, and that was in a seminar in San Francisco, long after he had become super famous. Now, when I went to the seminar, I found him to be very charming, very witty, very entertaining, and I was sure that I had read his book, The Art of Dreaming, before I went to the seminar. It had just been published. And I was the only one at the seminar who had read that book, so I got to ask him some questions about it. And he told us this incredible story about how his publisher reminded him that he owed them one more book. And he said, oh, several years ago I wrote a book about dreaming, but it was so wild I didn't expect anybody to believe it, so I just filed it away in the second attention. Why he didn't just put it in the safety deposit box, I don't know. Maybe this was a metaphor for a safety deposit box. But just it took me a whole week of meditation to pull it out of the second attention and bring it back so it could be published. I thought, well, this is typical Castaneda overstatement and colorful language, and who knows if he believes this or not, but it makes a good story.
The things he talked about were so expansive. I mean, it was like mind-blowing was a very common word that we used. Untold stories and untold marvels that the human being in his expansion of perception could manage, could do. And Carlos was very pragmatic. And after that meeting, it was about 90 minutes, he said, I am giving these practices to start these movements that will help you expand your perception in a local park, and everybody sign your name up. And I signed my name, and I went that Saturday, et cetera, et cetera. And I kind of think the rest is history. He made so much sense. His logic was peerless. His reasoning was peerless. His heart was peerless. His intention. He was like nobody else I'd ever met.
I had a chance to spend a day with him when he came to the Bay Area, and he actually specifically offered to meet with transpersonal psychologists. And then, of course, I heard a lot of stories from Michael Harner, who knew him quite well. My feeling is that he had, a lot of non-ordinary experiences. If you read his books, you know that he knows something about the subject. Now, I don't think that all those things that I described there happened, but he was also he's knowledgeable in this area,